It is now recording. All right, exercise 1F. What are we looking at? We are doing exactly what you did last week. Exercise 1E was add, subtract negative numbers. Today I'm going to show you what the plus and negative actually means. So here, let's have a look. I put the number line there to help you visualize what I'm saying. I want you to fill this in. The sign in front of a number, so when they say positive or negative, right, tells us fill this in, the direction. It might help you to think of the negative, when you see a negative, as saying the opposite or the reverse direction. Okay? There is a difference between minus and negative. On your calculators, it actually says the differences too. I don't know if I showed you last session, but if I haven't, I'm going to show you now. On these calculators here, the minus symbol is up here above the plus in blue. Minus is to actually take away. Notice next to the decimal point on this calculator, it has a little hyphen. That's negative. There's a difference between a negative and a minus. And that's what I'm going to describe here. Okay, so negative means very different to a minus. So negative is a bit shorter and minus is much longer. Okay, so here we go. Let's do an example. Let's say I told you you've got 2 plus, okay, and let's say I'm going to put a symbol here. That's a positive 2. So I'm saying this number is a positive 2. I'm doing 2 plus positive 2. Now I want you to look at the number line. Thanks, team. Don't speak while I'm speaking, please. Actively taking notes or actively listening. It's one of the two. Here we go. Starting off with number 2. Here's number 2. You're starting off at this point. Plus, which direction am I going? If I'm adding more, which direction am I going? Am I going to the right or am I going to the left? To the right. Was that what you're going to say, Elizabeth? Very good. So we're moving to the right. So every time you're going to the right, it is positive. Every time you're going to the left, it is minus. Okay, so plus goes to the right, minus goes to the left. So right now I'm saying go to the right. And plus here means continue that same direction. So I'm in agreement. It's not the opposite. If it was a negative, it means opposite. But right now positive means continue on. So I'm going to the right and continue on by 2 units. So if I go from positive 2, going 2 units forward, that gives me an answer of 4. That's a positive 4. So what's in between here? I want you to realize that when I said 2, and I'm saying go to the right, right is actually plus. So instead of saying plus a positive number, it's confusing. Yeah, saying plus a positive can get very confusing for a lot of students. So we simplify that and we say, well, it's actually the same thing as just saying 2, go to the right, which means plus 2. And we much prefer that. If I just said, what's 2 plus 2? All of you would have told me 4. At the moment, we don't normally write 2 plus positive 2, but later on when you have a negative, that's where it gets confusing. Okay? So here, what I want you to write as your notes here, plus a positive is actually the same thing as saying plus, which means go to the right. So continue going to the right. Let's work with a negative now. Same thing, I'm going to start with the number 2 again. So we're starting off with the number 2. So I'm still in the same thing. So number 2 is up here again. So I'm going to draw a dot. Here's number 2. Plus, which direction am I going? Right or left? Right. So I'm going to the right again. So I'm meant to go this way. But remember, negative, it's the same thing as saying do the opposite of that direction. Okay, because negative is different to minus. So negative means go the opposite direction. Now, what's the opposite of going to the right? Left. So I'm actually not going to the right anymore. They're saying, I want you to reverse it. Whoops. I want you to reverse it, and I want you to go left. Okay, so I want you to go left. Now, how much am I moving left by? I'm moving left 2. So I'm starting from 2, and if I go left by 2, how many units do I go? 2, 1, 2, and that ends up at 0. So my answer here is 0, but let's think about the language I just said there. We started at 2, and I said left. Now, what operation represents left? Plus or minus? minus. So here, instead of saying plus a negative number, it's very confusing for a lot of students. So we simplify that step and we say it's 2 minus, because minus means left. So I'm saying start at 2, go left 2. That's what that means. It says start at 2, go left 2. So starting at 2, go left 2 gives me 0. Your skill today is to be able to not get confused by that plus negatives or negative plus or minus positive. Okay? So here when they say plus a negative number, it actually means the same thing as saying minusing, which really means continue going left. So when you say adding on a negative, add means right, but then opposite of right is left. So you might as well just say left, which means minus. Okay, it gets a bit confusing with the plus, minus, left, right, okay? But once we do some examples, you start to see the benefit of simplifying that sign. Okay, let's do another one. If I do, I'm going to jump ahead and just do 2 minus a negative 2 so you can see how it works as well. 2, start again, starting at 2. So I'm going to go back to the number line. I'm going to rub this out. Here's 2. I start off at this point. That's a minus symbol. Which direction am I going? Left or right? Left. Okay, so minus means left. So I'm going left, but then there's a negative there. Can you see how there's a negative? So this means left, but then this negative symbol tells me opposite of left. Now, what's the opposite of left? So it means I'm meant to go to the right. Now, what operation represents going to the right? Plus or minus? Plus. This is why instead of saying minus a negative number, we change that and we say, well, since I know I'm going to the right, might as well just simplify it and say plus. Because the language gets confusing if I said, I want you to take away a negative number. People are like, what? Double negatives? That's why sometimes they say double negatives positive, right? So here, that changes it to, instead of saying left and then opposite of left, which is right, you might as well just say plus. Here's much easier. 2 plus 2, we know the answer is 4. If I drew it on the number line for you to see, you started off at 2, you are meant to subtract, which goes left, but the negative tells you do the opposite of that. So I'm going this direction now by 2 units, and that's why it's 1, 2, and your final answer is 4. Does that make sense? So here, what should you write in the bracket or the empty space? If you minus a negative number, it's actually the same thing as you just saying plussing, which means go to the right. Now, out of curiosity, what do you think minusing a net positive would represent? Have a think. So minusing's left. Positive means go same direction. Elliot? Yeah. Which means minus, because that's the operation. So I'm actually moving left. And you remember how I told you last session, I said once you learn 1G, which is the multiplication division, that chart that you remember, most students are then confused with this one because it actually ends up being the same or similar. See how you're saying plus a positive? That's like saying plus, plus. Whoops, what's going on there? Plus, plus gives you plus. Plus negative gives you negative. And then minus plus gives you minus. And then negative, negative gives you plus. This is why students get confused after a while, but there's a difference. See, one is talking about direction, and the other one we're not. The other one's like technically a reflection, but I don't want to confuse you there, okay? So that's why with the chart, it feels confusing. At the moment, this might get a bit confusing, but as we do some examples, you get it, okay? Here we go. Let's do the first example. Again, difference between minus and negative, just for you to understand. This is the operation. So minus is the operation, fill that in. And negative is the direction. Or you can think of it as the opposite. Okay, just fill that in. Let's do 4 examples, and then we'll call that a day just so that you get a feel of it. And I'm going to walk around just to make sure that you can work with these sort of questions here. Okay, let's see. Yeah, the problem solving. Let's see how you go after you do this one. Okay. All right, here we go. Question A. If it helps you, draw a number line to help you visualize this. Here we go. You're starting off with 10. I want to draw a number line. Here's 0. 10. That's where I'm starting off with. Is it on the right or on the left of the 0? It's on the left. Right. 10 is positive, so it's on the right. So here's my right. So I'm starting off at 10. Then it says plus. Which direction is plus? Go to the right. But then you have a negative. The negative means opposite of right. So opposite of right is? Left. So if you know that you're going left, instead of saying 10 plus a negative 3, it's too confusing. So we rewrite it as 10. And since we know we've got to move left anyway, we're now going to say minus 3, which is much easier to do. See that? So if I said 10 plus a negative 3, it can get confusing for some of us. But if I said, what's 10 minus 3? It's much easier for you to do because you know you're saying 10, move left, 3. So on your number line, 10's here. Moving left, we know now going back 3 steps. What's my final answer? Let's go with Wilbur. What's the answer? 7. That's a positive 7. Get me? Over time, you don't have to draw the number line, but at the start, if you're making mistakes, that's what I want you to do because it helps you visualize what's happening. So let's do the same thing with this one. Negative 3 plus a negative 5. So let's do it again. I'll draw a number line. Here's 0. The number I'm starting off with is negative 3. Where's negative 3? It is on the left side of the 0 sign. So I'll write here, negative 3. This is where I'm starting. Let's read the direction. Tom, which direction is plus? Going to the right. But then notice there's a negative here. This negative means what? Let's go with Haoxuan. Left, which opposite. And hence overall it's left. Now no one likes to say plus a negative. It gets confusing. So let's simplify that problem. We now say negative 3. But I know I'm moving left. So what sign should I be using here? Let's go with Ashwin. So if I know I'm moving left, which operation should I be doing? Minus or plus? Minus, very good. So here I say minus, and it's much simpler than saying plus a negative. How much am I minusing? 5. So now if you want to know what negative 3 minus 5 is, look at the number line. Minus means left, so here's my minus 3. If I go left, you can count it. If I go further left, it's only going to be a negative number, and I'm starting at 3. If I go 5 this direction, what number should I end up? Negative 8, very good, because I'm starting at negative 3 and I'm going further this way. You count 5 units that way, it becomes 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's 5 jumps there. So hence, I'm in the negative region, so that's why I know it's negative 8. That number line will help you visualize if you're not used to thinking negative values. Over time, you don't need it. Okay? Let's do the next one. Same idea. 4 is the number I'm starting off with. So if you draw a number line, 4 is over here. So here we go. Starting off at 4. That's my 4. Minus. What direction is minus? Let's go with Sienna. What direction am I going? Left. Very good. So I'm meant to go left. This is left. But then you've got a negative. Means do the opposite of that. So opposite of left is what, Lucas? Right. Now, no one likes saying minus a negative number. It's too confusing. So what we do is we rewrite it and we say it's 4. And I know I'm going to the right. What's the operation to say that you're going to the right? Plus or minus? Plus. So here I say plus. How many units? 2. And that is so much easier. This is so much easier to see. 4 plus 2. So you're 4 here. You're meant to go left, but you do the opposite of that. So here, go to the right by 2, and you can count on the number line. 1, 2 gives me 6. Whoops. It gives me 6. Does it make a bit more sense, what I'm trying to say? So that negative gets confusing, and that's what I want you to be able to read over time, that you know which direction you're meant to go. That's different to 1G. See, 1G, we didn't care about direction. We just times the numbers and then worked out the sign. But in 1F, the direction matters. Yeah, so here, last one. Negative 11 minus 6. Now, this one doesn't have a double sign like these ones I've given you. So this is much easier to work with. So here we go. Negative 11 on the number line. So here we go. I'm going to do a number line again. 0, negative 11 somewhere over here. Start at this point. Minus means left. Well, it's telling me left 6. Okay, or you can think of it, if you want to make it more complicated, you can think of it as minus a positive 6. But then why would you say that? Yeah, so minus a positive is the same thing as going left. Yeah, so I normally like to not complicate things. If you only see one sign, it's great. Just means move left 6. Now let's think about the number line. If you're at negative 11 and you move left, you're only going to get more negative. But you're going 6 units this way. So what answer should you end up at? Yeah, because this is negative 11. You're going further negative by 6 units. You're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 11 plus 6 that direction is 17. But we know that that's negative on this side. So hence the answer must be negative 17. Okay, and that's much easier. That middle step there was for those who want to convert it into negative 11 minus positive 6. That can get confusing there. That's what I'm saying. This is too confusing for a lot of students. Simplifying the operation makes it easier. Cool? What you're seeing there, if I zoom out, this is your fluency section. Okay, so your questions 2 to 5 roughly, that's what I expect that you should be able to do. Okay? That's what I want you to work with now. I'm going to give you, it's currently 2:24. Let's give you about 25 minutes of just working in the fluency section of 1F. And then once you're feeling a bit more confident, we'll do some problem solving. The last 2 here is trickier. The other class took a while to figure this one out, but they figured out this one very quickly. Okay, so this is the last one. I'll do that after 25 minutes. So 2:25 at the moment. So 2:50, we'll come back again and then we'll have a look at this. Okay, so I'm going to stop the video.